Okay guys, welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Today we're going to give you some top tips of just how you go about getting these kind of glass sealants that we've been talking about on the channel. How you can get them installed so that they kind of work, so you don't have any like filming issues or any smeary films over here. We'll talk about wiper judder as well, which is something which you can encounter, and how you can minimise all of that and get a good application. So let's just go through the magic door, yeah, and get out of this rain because it's a miserable day. It is a horrible day. So here's the boudoir that you're more familiar with. Just wipe the lens on them. Right, so glass sealants, what are the most common issues and why are they caused, and how do you kind of avoid them? So the first most common issue, whenever you put a film or material which is going to bond to this screen, and we know it's going to be hydrophobic and we know it's going to bond and it's not going to just be instantly washed off, so we know that technology works. But the most common issue is you put it down and it creates like a hazy muck on your screen, and the wiper blade goes over it, it's pulling residues and everything all over the place, and it's just not looking good. That's probably the most common thing. Right, as we've talked about, first of all, step one is really important, because with any protection product, they work well if the surface is prepared properly. If you don't prep the surface properly, you're putting your sealant on top of films of surfactants from wiper blades, existing films, spray and rinses, wash and waxes. The chances are you've already got loads of material bonded on here. And if you just go straight on with the glass sealant, what you'll often see is patches of which are effectively high spots where you've built up too much material. So if you've got a horrible patchy finish, I don't think you will have prepped properly. That's the most likely cause. If you don't prep properly as well, the product's probably not going to last as long, because whatever it's bonding to isn't going to be good, and we know optically it's not going to be as good. So that's step one. Make sure if this glass has got little chunks and lumps on it when you feel it, you might need to clay it, and you can clay all the chunks off first, which we talked about. But then after that, you need to use a glass polish. So Glaco Ultra is a really good glass polish. That is a really good glass polish for machine application, cutting glass. That's really improved my Porsche windscreen, actually. You could use it to strip product as well. That's a great glass cleaner that's also really powerful, and it's going to strip your glass. All those three products have got in common is that they are there to work on the glass and remove whatever's on there. And then when you remove those products, they've got to come off. Okay, so you don't want to put the sealant on after you haven't removed the polish properly. That is the next thing that can go wrong. So after you've applied those glass polishes, most of them are water soluble, so you can rinse really thoroughly, even with a pressure washer. After if you polish them down after you've washed, like we've talked about, pressure wash the hell out of them, rinse the hell out of them till they're completely clear, and then wipe them over with a clean cloth. Rinse it again. Just make sure there's no white murkiness to any of that, because the polish has often got solvents and oils in it, and solvents and oils and stuff and polish residue will cause problems, and it will mix in with your liquid sealant when you put it on if it's still there. And then again, you've got like a slurry of other materials and lubricants when you put your glass on. So that's a big thing, is making sure you rinse that polish off. Don't be afraid to wipe it after you've rinsed it. And if you're being really thorough after you've done that and you've wiped it, take a glass cleaner, really any glass cleaner that's any good. Built Hammer Traceless is brilliant, but any automotive glass cleaner you've got, and clean the glass with another fresh cloth to degrease it, is another top tip, and that will give you squeaky clean glass. Okay, when you're doing the glass polish, if you're doing it by hand, you've got to work more than you think to make sure you've got it off, because you can start off really thorough, and then as you're going through, you start thinking, yeah, well, you know, and then you go a bit quicker, and you're leaning over in there, so you go a bit quicker. The net result is you won't have actually abraded through all the muck and old sealant that's on the film, and what you'd get is some areas that are clear, some that have still got film, and that's where you get patchiness. So just spend your time doing the polishing part properly, and then getting the polish off and degreasing the glass. So it is completely hydrophilic when you run water over it, and there's no little bits of hydrophobicity breaking through, and it looks like completely clear. That's the foundation, okay? Then what you do is get your wiper blades up, ideally, you know, get them out of the way, get them off the car, and apply your sealant according to manufacturer's instructions. Is there anything you need to really be careful about when you're applying sealant? The only rule is perhaps don't go mad with the amount you put on, maybe, but it can vary product to product, but don't over apply. So like if we were using Glaco Ultra, you squeeze it, don't you, and it fills out the felt applicator at the bottom. You don't want it all running down, you don't want loads of liquid everywhere, you don't want to see like lines of product drying. You want a nice thin film, okay? That's really important, and get wherever you want it. Bear in mind, if you do sort of like say, well, I can't see through this black bit, so I'm not worried about sealing it, and you end your line there, that won't look as good. You might as well just seal the whole thing, you know? But some people disagree on that. But yeah, you know, just put the film over the whole glass. The next thing is curing. I like to, when you're letting a glass sealant cure, I tend to find you get better results if that product is completely dried and cured when you buff it off. I find, but I wouldn't go crazy. Say if it said wait 10 minutes before buffing, like in winter and it's cold, I might wait 20, but I wouldn't wait 3 hours before buffing. I wouldn't go to extremes, but I would always make sure perhaps that I leave it a little bit longer so that I'm not buffing any film where there's bits of it that are still wet, because then that can give you uneven application and films. My other tip that I mentioned recently is the final pass. I always think it's a good idea to go up and down, because I think if you do your final pass in circles, the trails of application that you get when you go in a circle, there's more chance of higher spots. It's like when you apply a ceramic coating, you often see it being kind of laid out thin, you know. So I just think, and I've seen that before when I've put them on in circles, so it's just something I've learned. And the final pass up and down, just to me, seems to be the best way to do it visually. So that's something I do. I'm not sure if all sealants have that advice there, but that's just a little tip that I've learned. Once I've buffed that sealant according to the manufacturer's instructions, I've got the luxury of having the car in the garage. What I will do is I'll leave it overnight, and I'll leave the wipers off of the glass. Why? Because sometimes when I come back in the morning, I might not have buffed all of that material off. And like when you're buffing it as well, a bit like when you're buffing a wax, you're moving material around, you're getting it in your cloth, and you can still leave like little lines of it that might vape in a little bit more that you can't see unless you've got light and you're looking through the glass. So you may not have the perfect buff when you buff it once, and if you come back after you've left it overnight, it's definitely cured off with a thin layer, but there may be some little bits that you can see that have sort of subsequently cured off, you know. So just give it another buff the next morning is what I like to do, okay? And then by that stage as well, I think the film is really dry that you could actually put your windscreen wipers down. Again, if you apply it, wait 10 minutes and buff, put your glass wipers back on there. The worst thing you could do is turn your wipers on and test it, because I think there is a chance that there'll still be bits that haven't fully dried, and then you're collecting it up on your wiper blades and you're rubbing it all over the surface, and then you can get that heavy ghosting. Okay, so that's really important. Keep them off. Now, here's the thing on wiper blades. Really, you want nice, fresh, clean rubber on your wiper blades. What happens with wiper blades when they get old? Well, they can pick up little bits of grit in them and get little tears in them, so that when they wipe, you see like a little gap of water. They can also start to split typically on the ends, because that travels more and it gets flexed left and right. As they start to split, you're getting more pressure on the rest of the wiper blade, and it's just going to deteriorate. But as they get older as well, they can get brittle, and they also, and when they're brittle, they're going to be more prone to kind of not flexing and jumping a little bit. They also pick up grease and grime, so I sometimes like to get a short pile microfiber cloth and maybe spray a bit of glass cleaner into it, or a bit of surfactant in there, and just pinch on it and clean up and down till there's no like black slime in there. These are pretty clean. Ultimately, if you haven't replaced your windscreen wiper blades, they're only like 10-20 quid. I'd go and get a set of good quality wiper blades. Don't go for some generic Chinese eBay ones. I tend to use Bosch or whatever people are saying are good, or OEM or whatever. I can't remember if these are OEM. I don't think they are. I think these might be Bosch. I don't know. I can't remember. But these are fine. Yeah, so make sure these wiper blades are clean. John, could you put the sealant on the wiper blades? I don't tend to. Maybe if the wiper blades are brand new and you've bought them and you do this and you have a problem, you could maybe put sealant on this rubber, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea and if it's a generic solution. Some people have reported in the comments that really helps with certain times when you've had judders and stuff, and other people say that doesn't help at all. Yeah, I don't tend to do that. So that's wiper blades. That's wiper blades. My theory, if you get jumping wiper blades, yeah, when you don't have a glass sealant on here and this arc is all hydrophilic and it's got a film of water, the water is drawn to that glass when it's hydrophilic. Glass is naturally hydrophilic. That creates a film of water which is not good to see through, and it disturbs your vision. You know, you can't see as well. But it does lubricate the wiper blade. It's like if you try to dry the glass that doesn't have a sealant on it, the water will want to stick to it and you'll see all the streaky water as you're buffing on it. But that provides lubrication for the blade. So my theory is when you've got fresh hydrophobic material on there that parts all the water, you lose a little bit of that lubrication from the water and your wiper blade is making perfect contact with glass. So it can highlight if there's potential for judder there. I think the problem is it's just so hit and miss. It's just so hit and miss whether you get it or not. It really is. The glass sealants themselves, as I mentioned, are nice and slick and lower friction typically. I'm not touching the glass, I'm just hovering above it. So they feel slicker and it feels more grippy without it. But it's that hydrophobic nature which gives you better visibility, might reduce the film that's providing lubrication. That's just my theory. I think about these things. So like I say, apply it late, leave it overnight without touching it with the wipers off. Wipers clean, degreased, none of that black film on them, back down, and then use them. Do not put them on and then start spraying water on them to look at the beading and then putting the wiper blades on after you've just applied it, because I just think you increase the risk of moving around material that hasn't yet cured. Those are the main tips. A garage is a really good tool for applying glass sealants because it just gives you that luxury of doing it inside and leaving them overnight without them getting wet and stuff like that. I just think it's an ideal scenario, and if you don't have a garage, apply them on a day where there's no rain, and you can do the same thing where it's outside and it's not going to get disturbed, would be my tip. Now, going down to products, what happens if you've done all of this? You've done everything this. I've done it all, John. I'm still getting like mess on my screen. I'm still getting wiper judder. Is it the product? Well, you can try another product. You know, 3 of the most popular products that are probably used here in the UK, I think, would be Glaco Ultra, Angel Wax H2 Go, and perhaps Rain-X, which, you know, I think you buy in Halfords or something, or whatever is in Halfords. So as a last resort, you could try and change products and see what happens. And if changing the product solves it for you, then you're there. Yeah, results do vary with all of them. It's difficult, but when you find one that works for you, it should be relatively easy. This, I'm also, the tips that I've given you here, I don't always do. Like last time on my Porsche, I was doing the glass machine polishing, and then I rinsed it off. I don't think I used glass cleaner. I put the Glaco on my Porsche. I can't remember if I left it overnight, but it was fine, you know. So, but I have sometimes done it that way to make sure that it's very, very good. This car needs something on its glass because it has PPF film, and without it, the PPF film with no protection, you can get wiper judder, or it's not judder, it's more like slow down on this, maybe a tiny bit of judder. So I tend to put stuff on this, and then as soon as I put it on, it improves the problem. So that if you've got PPF film, you really do need to put something on your glass. But then again, this is quite an old car, so maybe if you had a modern car with a PPF, you might be okay. Oh shit, sugar, what's that going on there? What's going on with that? So I can't remember if this is what the score is with that. Oh no, don't do that. Hold on. I'm going to get bloody copyrighted. I'll get copyrighted for that, for God's sakes. There we go. Oh, it's okay, yeah. I think it's not juddering at the moment. This has got, I think for the video with Soft 99, I just put some Glaco, their cleaner, on there, just one little mist, which seems to be stopping any bounce, you know, dry bounce, which is good. So yeah, ultimately guys, yeah, these products are meant to be for your benefit, you know. So it's worth thinking about getting the application spot on and doing everything you can to get the best results out of them. And hopefully this video will be useful. I'm just trying to think if I've forgotten about anything. But wet film patchiness, you know, dragging around a load of mess, we've covered that. Patches of product that from bad prep, can be a problem if you're not prepped properly. And the wiper judder, those can be the main problems. And hopefully replacing the wiper blades. I always just think if you've got a brand new set of OEM blades on your car before applying this sealant and you're getting problems, you've done everything you can to wipe out ruler blades. I'm getting senile. To rule out wiper blades. So you've done everything reasonable. But if you've got a grotty old pair of wiper blades on there, and you know, I would rule those out. And you want to, like I say, be maintaining those and swapping those periodically, every couple of years. Really, what do you think on that? I don't know. Maybe every 3 or 4 years at least, front wiper blades, especially in the UK. So there we go. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this subject matter. Another thing is, it's not quite as important, but a lot of people use ceramics foams and spray and rinse products. They can obviously, if you get them all over your front windscreen, will play a role, and they might not be ideal as front windscreen sealants. Some manufacturers don't talk about it, others do. I remember like Autoglim said with their ceramic spray, or one of their spray and rinse products, don't get on the front glass. If you do, clean the glass with a glass cleaner, because they're talking about what can go wrong when you put fresh product down. And you know, other brands don't always go there, but yeah, think about that. And that's why I've also said before, I'm more of a kind of like, I'll protect this. You know, I've got a product that I'll use to protect the paintwork of the car. I'll put a coating on the wheels. I'll put a dressing there. I'll put a glass sealant there, and once every 5 years maybe on all the side stuff. And I've got my little products to do it. When you use a spray and rinse or a spray and wash product, it goes everywhere. So you lose your ability to know what's going on with your protection and all that. So if you're all into it, sometimes that's one of the reasons I don't use those products quite as much, or I target their use. So I might use something like wet coat on my alloys, for example, but I might not spray it all over the entire car. Or might just localise it on the panels, rinse off, drying aid stuff. So you get the idea. Think about what's going on, and yeah, prep is always important. Actually, it's a little bit like if I was to apply a product to a car. Like I'm itching to. We've done some videos talking about this stuff, and I was thinking, oh, I could apply it to my black car, or even the red Porsche. The problem I've got is they've all got real fresh protection on them. So like, I'm not going to really know if I'm getting the best out of the product, and even a little panel wipe down won't strip off that fresh protection. I've got, like, I can't remember what I've got here, but I've got loads of that hybrid ceramic detailer on there, that FaneLab one that I've been using. But in an ideal world, I would prep by taking all of that off with a finishing polish, degreasing, and then putting the product on. And that, as well as a bit like the glass sealant, it guarantees that if I see a problem, then it's more to do with the product than anything else. Whereas if I put the product on and I'm getting some subtle filming issues and not quite the clarity, and it feels a bit weird or something funny's going on, it could be mixing whatever film is already on there and just giving me undesirable results. Of course, with front windscreens, you notice that 10 times more because you're staring through it. So you tend to see every imperfection with that. Do remember as well that you're wiping a film of water over the blades. So even if you had nothing on there and your glass was crystal kind of clean, and when it rains and the wiper goes over it, you will often see a little film of water, moisture that's, you know, then disappears because the air's hitting it and it dries off. So you can sometimes be more aware of that after you put a sealant on. It could possibly amplify that effect a little bit more with a sealant. I'm not 100% sure on that though. But you shouldn't really, what you shouldn't have is a mess. You shouldn't really know you've got a sealant on there beyond the fact your glass is hydrophobic. That's really the ideal world, isn't it? Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope this video was useful, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Do not forget to subscribe. Doug.